The flash went off 3 times before anyone said anything. I was standing there, at the edge of the group, trying to position myself naturally, like I belonged. My heart was racing, that familiar anxiety creeping up my spine whenever group photos came up at work events. I'd worn my best blazer that morning, the navy one that made me feel somewhat confident, somewhat professional. But confidence is a fragile thing when you've spent years feeling like you take up too much space. "Emma, could you step back for a second?" Jessica's voice cut through the chatter. Sweet, casual, like she was asking me to pass the salt. I froze. Around me, 12 colleagues arranged themselves in front of our new office building, the morning sun creating perfect lighting for what was supposed to be our quarterly team photo. The Philadelphia skyline stretched behind us, gleaming and indifferent. "Sorry?" I managed, though I'd heard her perfectly. "Just for this shot. We're trying to fit everyone in frame, and it's a bit tight." She smiled, that practiced corporate smile that never quite reaches the eyes. "You understand. But here's the thing about exclusion. It doesn't need to be loud to destroy you. It doesn't need to be cruel to cut deep. Sometimes it comes wrapped in politeness, in reasonable explanations, in smiles that ask you to be complicit in your own erasure." I looked at the photographer, Marcus from marketing, who suddenly found his camera settings fascinating. I looked at David, my supposed work friend, who shifted his weight and studied his shoes. I looked at the 11 other people who would be immortalized in that photo, posted on our company's social media, printed in the annual report, proof that they existed, that they mattered, that they were part of something. And I looked at the space where I'd been standing, now empty, now better. "Sure," I said. My voice came out steady, which surprised me. "No problem." I stepped back, then back again. Then I turned and walked into the building, through the glass doors that reflected my body back at me. The body that was apparently the problem. The body that took up too much space. The body that ruined the aesthetic of a corporate photo. My desk was on the 4th floor, in the corner by the window. I'd always liked that spot. The morning light was good, and I could see the street below, watch people living their lives, going places, mattering. I sat down heavily in my chair and stared at my computer screen without really seeing it. The thing about being excluded isn't just the moment itself. It's everything that comes after. It's wondering if you should have said something, fought back, demanded to be included. It's replaying the scene over and over, thinking of all the things you could have done differently. It's the shame that settles in your chest like concrete, the humiliation that colors everything that follows. It's also the clarity. Because in that moment, standing there being asked to disappear, I understood something with absolute certainty. This wasn't the first time. It had been happening my entire life in 1,000 subtle ways. The friend who suggested we split up at the amusement park because the rides had weight limits. The cousin who cropped me out of vacation photos before posting them online. The dates who never called back. The job interviews where I could see the shift in their expressions. The doctor's appointments where every symptom became about my weight before they'd even listened to what I came in for. I'd learned to make myself small in every way except the one that mattered to everyone else. I laughed at jokes made at my expense. I accepted being the backup plan, the maybe if nobody else. I apologized for existing in a body that society decided was wrong, was too much, was not enough all at once. But that morning, something shifted. My phone buzzed. A text from David. "You okay?" That was weird. Weird. Not wrong. Not cruel. Just weird. Like something awkward had happened to both of us instead of something deliberate that he'd witnessed and allowed. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and looked at something I'd been working on in secret for 6 months. A business plan. A dream I'd been too scared to pursue because dreams require confidence, and confidence requires believing you deserve to take up space. The idea had come to me last winter, during another moment of exclusion. I'd been shopping for professional clothes and spent 2 hours in stores that didn't carry my size, watching sales associates glance at me and then away, their message clear. We don't make clothes for bodies like yours, because bodies like yours don't belong in professional spaces. So I'd started researching, learning about fashion, about manufacturing, about the massive gap in the market for truly professional plus-size clothing that wasn't frumpy or covered in flowers or designed to hide rather than enhance. I taught myself about fabric, about cuts that worked for different body types, about the psychology of getting dressed when you've been told your entire life that your body is the problem. I'd sketched designs. I'd found manufacturers. I'd created financial projections and marketing strategies. I'd done all of this in secret, in the margins of my life, because I didn't believe I deserved to take up space with my dreams either. But that photo, or rather my exclusion from it, became something else. It became fuel. I pulled up my business plan and started refining it with new intensity. The office hummed around me, people returning from the photo shoot, chatting about lunch plans, about the weekend, about normal things that normal people with normal bodies got to think about. And I worked. If you're watching this, please subscribe and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I'd absolutely love to know how far this story reaches. Your support means everything as I share what happened next. 3 months after the photo incident, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Center City, my laptop open, my third espresso getting cold beside me. Outside, October in Philadelphia meant copper leaves and that particular slant of afternoon light that makes everything look both beautiful and melancholic. Inside, I was building something that terrified me. The photo had been posted everywhere. Company website, LinkedIn, Instagram, framed in the lobby. 12 smiling faces in front of our building. A team, a family, everyone except me. No one ever mentioned it. That was almost worse than the exclusion itself, the collective amnesia, the unspoken agreement that it hadn't been cruel, just practical, just business, just making sure the photo looked right. I'd stopped eating lunch in the break room, started coming in early, leaving late, avoiding the casual interactions where I'd have to pretend everything was normal. David had tried to talk to me once, cornered me by the printer with that concerned expression people wear when they feel guilty, but not guilty enough to actually do something. "You've been distant," he'd said. "I've been busy," I'd replied, and that was true. Every spare moment went into my business plan, into research, into building something that would prove I existed, that I mattered, that I could create space where there was none. But here's what nobody tells you about starting a business when you're already fighting just to be seen. It's not just about having a good idea. It's about convincing people to invest in you when they've been trained their entire lives to see you as less than. It's about walking into rooms full of venture capitalists and reading their faces, seeing them calculate whether your body makes you a bad investment, whether customers will trust someone who looks like you. I'd been to 4 pitch meetings, 4 rooms full of men in expensive suits who listened politely, asked surface-level questions, and then sent rejection emails full of buzzwords that meant the same thing. No, the market isn't ready. We don't see a clear path to profitability. Have you considered partnering with an established brand? Translation, we don't believe in you. But I kept going. Because that photo, that moment of exclusion, had crystallized something in me. I was done waiting for permission to exist. I was done making myself smaller to fit into spaces that were never designed for me anyway. My phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Is this Emma Richardson?" A woman's voice, professional, unfamiliar. "Yes. My name is Diane Chen. I'm a venture capitalist based in New York, and I came across your pitch deck through a mutual connection. I'd like to discuss your business plan. Are you available for a call tomorrow?" My heart stopped. Diane Chen. I knew that name. She'd made headlines for investing in women-owned businesses, for actually putting money behind companies that addressed real gaps in the market instead of creating another app nobody needed. "Yes," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Tomorrow works." After we hung up, I sat there for a long moment, staring at my reflection in the darkening window. The coffee shop was emptying out, people heading home to their lives, their dinners, their normal evening routines. And I was still here, still working, still fighting for something most people took for granted: the right to be seen. That night, I practiced my pitch until 2 a.m. I refined my numbers, strengthened my arguments, prepared for every possible question. But more than that, I prepared myself to walk into that conversation as someone who deserved to be there, who had something valuable to offer, whose body was irrelevant to the quality of her ideas. The call with Diane lasted 3 hours. She asked sharp questions, challenged my assumptions, pushed me to think bigger than I dared to think before. And at the end, she said something that changed everything. "Emma, I'm going to be direct with you. I've seen 100 pitch decks this month, and 99 of them were trying to solve problems that don't actually exist. You're solving a real problem for real people, and you understand your market because you live it. That's not a weakness. That's your competitive advantage." She paused. "I want to invest, but more than that, I want to connect you with my network. You're going to need a team, and I know people who can help you build this right." I couldn't speak. For a moment, I just sat there, the phone pressed to my ear, tears streaming down my face in my tiny apartment in South Philly. "Emma, you still there?" "Yes," I managed. "I'm here. Thank you. Thank you so much." After the call ended, I sat in silence, letting it sink in. Someone believed in me. Someone saw past my body to the value I could create. Someone was willing to bet real money on my vision. The next morning, I walked into work with my resignation letter in my bag. I'd written it the night before, words I'd been too scared to commit to paper for months. But now, with Diane's investment secured, with a real chance at building something meaningful, I was ready. Jessica was in the kitchen making coffee when I found her. She smiled that same corporate smile, like nothing had ever happened. "Morning, Emma. How was your weekend?" "Good," I said. "Actually, I need to talk to you. I'm putting in my 2 weeks' notice." Her smile faltered. "Oh, that's unexpected. Can I ask where you're going?" "I'm starting my own company." "Oh." She processed this, her expression shifting through several emotions I couldn't quite read. "Well, that's exciting. I hope it works out." I smiled. Not a corporate smile. A real one. "It will." What would you have done in Emma's position? Would you have stayed or taken the leap? Drop a comment and let me know. I really want to hear your thoughts on this. 6 months into building my company, I was working 16-hour days from a cramped office space I'd rented in a converted warehouse in Fishtown. The neighborhood was all exposed brick and craft breweries, young professionals and artists transforming old industrial spaces into something new. It felt appropriate. Diane had been true to her word. Her investment gave me runway, but more valuable than the money was her network. She connected me with a pattern maker who'd worked for major fashion houses, a manufacturing consultant who knew every factory on the East Coast, a marketing strategist who understood how to reach my target audience without falling into the trap of either ignoring or fetishizing body diversity. My first hire was Rachel, a designer I'd found through a portfolio website who understood instinctively what I was trying to create. She was thin, conventionally attractive, exactly the kind of person the fashion industry had been built for. But she'd watched her sister struggle for years to find professional clothes that fit, had witnessed firsthand how exclusion operated in subtle ways. "I'm not going to pretend I understand what you've experienced," she told me during her interview, "but I want to be part of creating something different. I'm tired of designing clothes that only work for one body type." We worked obsessively. I'd sketched hundreds of designs, but turning sketches into actual garments that fit real bodies required endless iterations. We brought in fit models across a range of sizes, listened to their feedback about where clothes pulled or gaped or didn't move right. We tested fabrics, adjusted seams, redesigned pieces over and over until they worked. It was exhausting and exhilarating and terrifying all at once. In April, 8 months after that photo incident, we were ready for our first small production run. 25 pieces across 5 styles: blazers, trousers, dresses, blouses, professional clothes designed for bodies the fashion industry had decided didn't deserve to look polished and powerful. I'd been planning to launch quietly, sell through a simple website, build slowly. But Rachel had other ideas. "We need to make noise," she insisted. "The whole point is that people like you have been invisible. We can't launch invisibly." She was right. But the thought of putting myself out there, of making my body and my story part of the marketing, filled me with dread. Visibility meant vulnerability. It meant opening myself up to criticism, to mockery, to all the things I'd spent my life trying to avoid. But it also meant refusing to be erased. We hired a photographer, another of Diane's connections, who specialized in editorial work that felt both aspirational and authentic. The shoot was scheduled for a Saturday in May at a studio in Old City. I almost canceled 3 times. The morning of the shoot, I stood in front of my mirror wearing one of our blazers, navy with sharp lines and a fit that actually worked with my body instead of against it. I looked professional, polished, like someone who deserved to take up space. But old voices are hard to silence. I heard Jessica's casual tone. "Just step back for a second." I saw the empty space where I'd been standing. I felt the concrete weight of shame settling in my chest. Rachel knocked on my door. "You ready?" "I don't know if I can do this." She came to stand beside me, meeting my eyes in the mirror. "Emma, you've already done the hardest part. You built something from nothing. You turned exclusion into creation. This is just one more step. What if people hate it? What if they hate me?" "Some people will. Some people hate anything that challenges how they see the world. But you know who won't hate it? Every person who's ever been excluded from a photo. Every person who's been told their body is wrong. Every person who's fought to exist in spaces that weren't built for them." The shoot took 6 hours. The photographer was patient, creative, pushing me to experiment with poses and expressions that felt both powerful and authentic. By the end, I was exhausted, but also something else. Proud, maybe, or just less ashamed. We launched 2 weeks later with a simple campaign. Photos of me wearing our pieces, paired with the story of why I'd started the company. No sugarcoating, no euphemisms, just the truth about exclusion and the decision to build something different. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Orders flooded in. Messages poured into our inbox from women sharing their own stories of exclusion, of being told their bodies were wrong, of struggling to find clothes that let them feel professional and confident. Some messages made me cry. Others made me angry all over again at how common this experience was, how many people had been made to feel small. Within 3 weeks, we'd sold out of our entire first production run and had a wait list of 2,000 people. Diane called, thrilled. "Emma, this is incredible. We need to scale up production immediately. I want to schedule a meeting with some additional investors. This could be huge." It was huge, but it was also personal in ways I hadn't anticipated. Going public with my story meant people felt entitled to comment on my body, to share their opinions about my health, to offer unsolicited advice about weight loss. The trolls came too, leaving cruel comments on our social media, sending hateful emails. But for every hateful message, there were 10 more from women thanking me, telling me they'd finally found clothes that fit, sharing photos of themselves looking confident and professional, building a community around the simple radical idea that all bodies deserved to be seen, to be dressed well, to take up space without apology. One morning, 3 months after our launch, I was checking our Instagram when I saw a familiar face in my notifications. Jessica had followed our account. More than that, she'd liked several posts and left a comment on our launch story. "This is amazing. So proud to see what you've built." I stared at those words for a long time. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated, to respond with something cutting about how she'd excluded me from a photo and now wanted to celebrate my success. But mostly I just felt tired. Tired of carrying anger, tired of making my story about them instead of about me. I didn't respond to her comment. Instead, I got back to work. Have you ever had someone from your past suddenly show up when you became successful? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments. By the time fall arrived again, exactly 1 year after the photo incident, my company had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. We'd moved into a real office space, hired 12 employees, expanded our product line to include 30 different pieces. We'd been featured in Vogue, in Forbes, in Business Insider. Major retailers were approaching us about carrying our line. But success brought its own complications. The bigger we grew, the more I had to step back from the day-to-day work I loved. Design meetings became board meetings. Creative decisions became financial decisions. I was spending more time talking to investors and retailers than actually creating the clothes that had started everything. And my old company, the one I'd left so dramatically with my resignation letter and my dreams, had noticed. They reached out through a corporate email, professional and polite, asking if I'd be interested in a partnership. They wanted to feature our line in their corporate catalog, offer it to their employees as part of their professional development resources. The irony was almost funny. I ignored the email, but they persisted. Phone calls, follow-up messages, eventually a formal meeting request from their CEO, Margaret Sullivan, someone I'd never interacted with during my time there, but who apparently wanted to discuss a major collaboration. Rachel thought I should take the meeting. "It's good business, Emma. They have reach we don't have yet." Diane agreed. "You don't have to like them, but you can use their platform to reach more people. That's what matters." I knew they were right. But walking back into that building, that space where I'd been made invisible, felt like betraying something fundamental about why I'd started this in the first place. I scheduled the meeting for a Tuesday in October, 1 year and 2 weeks after the photo incident. The office looked the same. Same glass doors, same corporate art on the walls, same photographs in the lobby showing the same 12 smiling faces in front of the building. I stopped to look at it, that photo that had changed my life, and felt a strange mix of emotions. Anger, yes, but also gratitude. Because without that exclusion, I might have stayed comfortable, stayed small, never built what I'd built. Margaret's office was on the executive floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture, the kind of space that announced power and success. She stood when I entered, extending her hand with a practiced smile. "Emma, thank you so much for coming. I've been following your company's growth with great interest." We sat. She launched into a pitch about partnership opportunities, about their commitment to diversity and inclusion, about how they wanted to support businesses like mine. All the right words, delivered smoothly, professionally. I listened politely, and then I asked the question I'd come to ask. "Did you know about the photo?" She paused. "I'm sorry?" 1 year ago, at a team photo shoot, I was asked to step out of the frame because I didn't fit the aesthetic. "Did you know about that?" Her expression shifted, discomfort breaking through the professional veneer. "I was not aware of that specific incident, no. But you know now. I've been briefed on the circumstances that led to your departure, yes. And the people responsible? Are they still employed here?" She hesitated. "Emma, I understand you're upset about what happened. And you have every right to be. But I hope we can look forward rather than backward. What happened to you was wrong, and we've since implemented new training programs around inclusion and respect. We're committed to being better." That's not what I asked. Several people involved in that incident are still with the company, yes, but they've undergone additional training. I nodded slowly. "Here's what I think, Margaret. I think you're approaching me now because my company is successful, because partnering with me gives you diversity credentials without actually having to change your culture. I think the people who excluded me are still here because what they did wasn't considered serious enough to warrant consequences. And I think your training programs are designed to protect you from lawsuits, not to actually create inclusive spaces." Her professional mask slipped completely. "That's not fair." "Maybe not. But it's true." I stood. "I'm going to decline your partnership offer, not because I'm bitter, but because I built my company on a different foundation, on actually seeing people, not just using them, on creating space instead of taking it away. Emma, please reconsider. This could be incredibly valuable for both of us. It could be valuable for you, For me, it would be compromising everything I built. I moved toward the door, then paused. But I do want to thank you. For what? For showing me exactly who I didn't want to become. I left her office, walked through the familiar hallways, past the cubicles and conference rooms where I'd spent years making myself small. And I felt lighter than I had in months. Outside, Philadelphia was beautiful in that autumn way, all golden light and possibility. My phone rang. Rachel. How'd it go? I said no. A pause. Really? Really? We're going to build this our way, Rachel, even if it takes longer. Even if it's harder, we're going to do it right. I'm proud of you, she said quietly. Me too, I replied. And I meant it. That evening, I was back in our office, working late as usual, when I got an email that changed everything. It was from a producer at a major morning show, asking if I'd be interested in appearing to talk about my company and my story. They wanted to feature me in a segment about entrepreneurs who'd turned adversity into success. I read the email 3 times, my heart racing. National television, millions of viewers, the kind of visibility that could transform my company overnight. But also, the kind of visibility that meant sharing my story, my body, my exclusion with the entire country. It meant opening myself up to judgment on a scale I'd never experienced. I thought about that photo, about the moment I'd been asked to step back, about how that exclusion had felt like the end of something but had actually been the beginning. I hit reply and typed one word. Yes. Would you have taken that TV appearance? Sometimes the scariest opportunities are the most important ones. Tell me in the comments what you would have done. The morning show appearance was scheduled for November 15th, exactly 13 months after the photo incident. I flew to New York on a Tuesday evening, stayed in a hotel near the studio, barely slept. At 4 a.m, a car picked me up and drove through empty Manhattan streets to the studio. Makeup, hair, wardrobe checks. Everyone was professional, kind, treating me like I belonged there. But I kept waiting for someone to ask me to step back, to make myself smaller, to disappear. The segment producer, a woman named Ashley, walked me through what to expect. We've got 6 minutes. Sounds short, but it's actually a lot of time. The host, Jennifer, is great. She'll ask about your company, your background, why you started this. Just be yourself. Be honest. That's what resonates. Be yourself. As if that was simple. As if I hadn't spent most of my life learning to be anyone but myself. They led me onto the set during a commercial break. Bright lights, cameras, the host Jennifer waiting with that TV smile that looked genuine. We shook hands, exchanged pleasantries. And then we were live. I'm here with Emma Richardson, founder and CEO of Revel, a professional clothing line that's revolutionizing the plus-size fashion industry. Emma, welcome. Thank you for having me. Your company has grown incredibly fast in just over a year. Tell us about what inspired you to start Revel. I took a breath. This was it. The moment to either tell a sanitized version that would be easier to digest or to tell the truth. I chose truth. 13 months ago, I was excluded from a work photo because of my body. I was asked to step back, to make myself invisible so the photo would look better. And in that moment, I realized that wasn't the first time I'd been made to feel like I was too much, like I didn't belong, like my body was wrong. So I decided to build something different. A company that creates professional clothes for all bodies, that says you don't have to be a certain size to deserve to look polished and confident and powerful. Jennifer's expression shifted, genuine emotion replacing the TV polish. That must have been incredibly painful. It was, but it was also clarifying, because I realized I had a choice. I could keep trying to fit into spaces that weren't built for me, or I could create new spaces. And I chose creation. What would you say to that employer now? I smiled. I'd say thank you. Because their exclusion became my fuel. They tried to make me invisible, and instead, I built something that makes thousands of women more visible every day. The interview continued. Jennifer asked smart questions about the business, about our growth, about the broader issues of representation in fashion. And I answered honestly, spoke about the women who'd shared their stories with me, about the community we were building, about refusing to be erased. 6 minutes flew by. Before I knew it, we were wrapping up. Emma Richardson, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on your success. Thank you. As I walked off set, Ashley hugged me. That was perfect, powerful and real. You're going to get an incredible response. She was right. Within an hour, our website crashed from traffic. My phone exploded with messages. Orders flooded in so fast our system couldn't keep up. Women sharing the segment on social media, adding their own stories of exclusion, creating a tidal wave of recognition and solidarity. But the most unexpected message came 3 hours later, while I was sitting in the airport waiting for my flight back to Philadelphia, trying to process everything that had happened. An email from Jessica. I almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. Emma, I watched your interview this morning. I need to tell you something I should have said a year ago. What happened at that photo shoot was wrong. I was the one who asked you to step out of the frame, and I've regretted it every day since. I told myself it was about composition, about fitting everyone in. But the truth is, I made a choice about whose visibility mattered, and I chose wrong. I can't undo what I did. But I want you to know that watching what you've built, seeing how you turned that pain into something beautiful and meaningful, has changed how I think about everything. I'm sorry, and I'm grateful that my cruelty became your catalyst, even though you deserved so much better. Congratulations on everything you've achieved. I read it twice, felt anger, vindication, and something else. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe release. Her apology didn't undo the hurt, but it acknowledged it, which was more than I'd expected. I didn't respond. Maybe I would eventually, maybe not, but it didn't matter anymore. Her exclusion had been about her limitations, not mine, and I'd built something that transcended what she'd tried to take from me. The flight home was smooth. I watched Pennsylvania unfold below me, patchwork fields giving way to suburbs, giving way to the city I'd made my home. Rachel texted that she'd pick me up from the airport, that the whole team wanted to celebrate. When I landed, she was waiting with a bottle of champagne and a grin. Emma Richardson, you're officially famous. I'm officially tired, I laughed. Too tired to hear our numbers? Because we just hit our year 2 revenue projections in a single day. I stopped walking. What? The interview. It's everywhere. We've gotten orders from all 50 states, international interest. Retailers calling every 5 minutes. Emma, this is huge. We drove back to the office, where the whole team was waiting. They decorated with balloons and streamers, pulled together an impromptu party. Everyone was talking at once, sharing stories of messages they'd received, orders they'd processed, the wave of recognition we were riding. I looked around at these people who'd believed in my vision, who'd worked impossible hours to make it real, who'd built something meaningful from a moment of pain. And I felt overwhelming gratitude. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, I sat alone in my office, looking out at Philadelphia sparkling in the darkness. I thought about the woman I'd been 13 months ago, standing at the edge of a group photo, being told to disappear. I thought about how completely my life had changed, how exclusion had become the catalyst for creation. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number, but I recognized the name at the bottom, Margaret Sullivan. Emma, I saw your interview this morning. You were right about everything you said in my office. I'm committed to actually making changes here, starting with accountability for what happened to you. If you're ever willing to have a real conversation about what that looks like, I'd welcome it. No business agenda, just learning. I set my phone down and smiled. The photo they'd excluded me from still existed somewhere. 12 faces in front of a building, proof of a team that wasn't complete because they'd chosen to make it that way. But I'd created something better than being in that photo. I'd created a company that said exclusion was wrong, that all bodies deserved to be seen, that taking up space was not something to apologize for. They'd tried to erase me from an image. I'd made myself impossible to ignore. And in the end, that was the photo that mattered. Not the one they took that morning in Philadelphia, but the one we were creating every day, women of all sizes looking confident and powerful and present, refusing to step back, refusing to disappear, taking up exactly as much space as we deserved, which was all of it. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Emma's story of turning exclusion into creation shows us that sometimes our greatest pain becomes our greatest purpose. What moment in your life became your turning point? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below.